Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my video. This is for the latest NFL game slate, week 13. I've got a whole lot of information on here. I'm going to try to rattle it off quickly. If you need to pause any part and look at it, you can. Um, so on buys this week, Arizona, Carolina. The showdown games are Indianapolis, Dallas, New Orleans, Tampa Bay. There's the odds and the over-unders. The highest teams with the implied team totals, over 25, as of the last time I updated, were KC, Cleveland, Vegas, Detroit, Cincinnati, San Francisco, and Jacksonville, all 25 and above. Dallas, 27.5 on the showdown games. Here's the games. These four have high totals, so it could be shootouts, or projected to be. KC, Cincinnati, very high. Jacksonville, Detroit, very high. Chargers, Vegas, high. And Cleveland, Houston, high. Then as far as the over-unders and whatnot, I just put some picks here. I've been sort of in odds. You might want to track it and see how I do before. I wouldn't jump necessarily on board all of them, but if I can hit 60%, which I've been pretty good on the over-unders this year, but Giants over, I hate to be this many overs, but Giants over 40.5, Houston under 47, Minnesota over 44.5, San Francisco over 45.5, Philly over 44.5. And as far as the spreads, there were more that I liked than I thought I would, but Giants +2, Bears +4.5, Miami +4.5, Philly -4.5, Chargers +2.5, Detroit -1, Tampa Bay -3.5 in the showdown, Minnesota -3, Cincinnati +2, although I wish that was like 3.5. Okay, so when I looked at the ReignMakers, I'll start with ReignMakers, then I got a whole bunch of DFS information because I've been spending a little more time on that lately. Anyway. Looks like the chalk ReignMakers lineups. Now Mixon is probably going to be out, so he wouldn't be there. I'm fairly certain he's not going to play, but so there would be somebody else in that spot. But Mahomes, JACOBS, Chase, St. Brown, Kelsey. This is using a superstar and sort of stacking when need be. So it's like Mahomes and Kelsey there. That projects really high. And the next one actually was Lawrence with Kirk, Walker, Adams, and St. Brown. 102. Hurts with Brown and Smith. Again, that they've been projecting that high, but I don't necessarily like the three-man combination this week. Walker and Aaron Jones, and then Deshaun Watson with Cooper. At least this is when this was updated yesterday. Some of this, but Deshaun Watson with Cooper, Eckler, Higgins, and then I'm not sure who would fit in that last spot. Let me just look really fast. See if I can figure it out really quick here. Mixon. Where was he projected at? I think it's actually Etienne on that. So, okay, so going down. Now, these are their projected ownerships. Now, these can vary from this, but it's good to look at, see what people are putting their money on. Last week, JACOBS, though, they were showing at 13% and only came in 4%. So the quarterbacks, the only ones over, even 5% are Lawrence, 16, Burrow, 10, Goff, 7. I'm not as big a fan of Goff as the other two. Running backs, JACOBS, 27, Pierce, 19. Not a huge fan of that. Jones, Eckler, Etienne, not a huge fan because I think he's a little banged up. Montgomery, not a huge fan. And this is taking into account salaries and all that. Chubb, Walker, Knight, and Pirine. Pirine popped up on there. That wasn't on there before because Mixon, people think Mixon is going to be out. Wide receivers, Wilson, St. Brown, Kirk, Zay Jones. I'm worried about being banged up. But if not, he's going to be really good. He could be really good. If he's not up to snuff, Kirk could be really, really good. Adams, Allen, A.J. Brown, Watson, Collins, and Smith. Not a huge fan of Smith this week. Tight ends. And so you can see the percentages. Sorry. So Wilson, St. Brown, Kirk, all over 20%. JACOBS over 20. Pierce getting close to there. Lawrence, the more chalky quarterback on a value basis. Tight ends, Freiermuth, Conklin, Moreau, Kelsey, and Kittle. I'm surprised Hawkinson isn't on there. Defenses, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Cleveland, Tennessee are the only ones, fairly significant. Okay, so on the using the advanced projection side, again, I haven't updated some of this since yesterday, so he wouldn't be on there. These were the ones that when they ran optimal lineups that came in the most time. So I guess they run 100,000 simulations or whatever. Quarterbacks: Hurts, Jackson, Fields, Lawrence, and Mahomes. Running backs: Jacobs, Chubb, Cook, Walker, Jones, Henry, Etienne, Eckler, and Williams. Wide receivers: Adams, Cook, Cooper, St. Brown, Chase, Samuel, Jefferson, Brown, Jones, and Smith. Tight ends: Kelsey, Freiermuth, Kmet, underowned, Hawkinson, Ingram. Defenses: Baltimore, Seattle, Washington, Pittsburgh, Green Bay. Best potential leverage. This is ones where they have them coming in their optimal lineup more than they're projecting the public to own them. And the green are the highest ones, but all of these. And this is where Jacobs was on last week. Jacobs was on a bunch of them. And I'm going to show you some comparisons to Jacobs later on in this. Mixon was on it that 1 week that he blew up. So keep in mind these players. But Hurts, Jackson, Fields, Mariota, Heineke, Watson, Cook, Mixon, Chubb, Williams, Henry, Barkley, Sanders, Pacheco, Walker, and Najee Harris. Adams, Cooper, Samuel, that's Devo, Jefferson, Chase, Lazard, Hollings, Jennings, and Watson. I might need to add one more lineup now that I look at this. Kelsey, Akins, and Pruitt, I think, is the Atlanta tight end. Baltimore and San Francisco defenses. Actual value per salary. And again, these were updated yesterday, so some of them may have changed slightly, but this is like points per salary type thing. Lawrence, Goff, Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts, Watson, Carr. Running backs: Jacobs, Cook, Jones, Eckler, Walker, Chubb, Etienne. Wide receivers: Cooper, Kirk, Adams, St. Brown, Jones, Chase, A.J. Brown. Tight ends: Kmet, Freiermuth, Kelsey, Bryant, Ingram. Defenses: Chicago, Seattle, Washington, Baltimore, Tennessee, Green Bay, Atlanta. DVP, basically on this is like Draftkings, and then this is another site that's more based on sort of yardage. I don't really need to rattle them all off, but these are sort of like good matchups, top tier matchups for positions, not necessarily the players or like this DB against this DB, but like how those have matched up. I'm not really going to rattle them all off. Then I went through my favorites. Now this is a long list, but every player on this last week, I believe the last 2 weeks, was in the winning $1 million lineup, I believe. Something like that. Now, of course, it is long list. I think the green were the ones I said I liked better. Goff, I sort of added at the last minute. I really kind of didn't want him on there. But Mahomes, Hurts. So the ones I would say I like the best are Mahomes, Hurts, Fields, Herbert, Burrow, Tua, Smith, and Lawrence. The others: Jackson, Garoppolo, Cousins, Carr, White, Goff. Like the kind of thing where if you had a ton of lineups, you probably want one of each of all of these players. A minimum. I'm just have one in case that one blows up. Eckler, Barkley, Chubb, Jacobs, Pirine, Jones, Harris, Williams, Pacheco, Swift, and Dillon as sort of like outsider ones. I don't know if I should have put those in green. Murray, Robinson, Williams, Knight. Some others: McCaffrey, Henry, Cook, Walker, Etienne, Pierce, and Johnson on the Jets. Knight's on the Jets. Williams on Rams. Wide receivers: Jefferson, Hill, Adams, A.J. Brown, Higgins, St. Brown, Allen, Cooper, Cook, Ayuk, Palmer, Wilson, Boyd, Watson, Pickens, Slayton, or James. I mean, I was thinking only one of them would play, but if both of them play, not quite as much. Zay Jones, a little concerned about injury. Jefferson, Hollins, Van Jefferson, Hollins, Burks, Collins, Carter on the Chargers, Quez Watkins, and Sky Moore at 3,100 for that kind of thing. Zacchaeus also. I'll go over these a little bit more in depth, my thoughts on some of these, but tight ends. There's a lot of crap tight ends. A lot of these cheap tight ends don't look like they can come into me. But so the ones I have the most confidence in would be Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, Freiermuth, Kmet, and Akins. Also Moreau, Hurst, Dulcich, Tanyan, Conklin, Ingram, Hooper, and Bryant. Defenses: Baltimore, Philly, Minnesota. Because I also look at salary, and whatnot on these. Baltimore, Philly, Minnesota, Washington, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Miami, and Houston. Also Cleveland, Seattle, Atlanta, Green Bay, the Giants, and Denver. Okay, so I think Fields is being slept on. And Mahomes and Hurts are, but they're very expensive. Chubb, but I'll explain why in a minute. P. Ryan is 6,000. Najee Harris. Some of these are more like a feeling I have, or like a, I don't know what you call it, like when connections in your brain point to something, so to speak, which would be Harris, and then Williams or Swift. Pacheco, Dillon, Robinson. That one I'm very bullish on. But no guarantees, obviously. Any player can, I mean, they could decide to give not that many carries to him, whatever. You know how it is. Jefferson, Hill, and Adams. Hill is a good contrarian play this week. A.J. Brown with Hurts, playing his former team. Seems like he might be due for one of those monster games. Higgins. Now, I know Chase is coming back. I basically think at this juncture, I would say Chase, Higgins, or Boyd. One of them is going to have a monster game, but I can't tell you for sure which one. At first, I was all about Higgins. And for some reason, Boyd. It's going to be one. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those games where one of those three is going to have like a 30-point type game, 25, 30-point, type game. St. Brown, really like. Allen Cooper, Kirk, I really like. Ayuk, Palmer, I like. Wilson, Watson, I like. Pickens, say Jones, but a little worried about the health. Hollins, Burks, I like a lot. Collins. And then for real cheap ones, Carter, Quez Watkins. These are going to nobody's going to have Sky Moore or Quez Watkins, probably hardly at all. Nominee are going to have Van Jefferson, etc. And then the tight ends, Hawkinson to me here on the salary basis, and to a little bit of degree Andrews, and then Freiermuth and Komet, and then he had a good week last week, and he's only 2,900. Freiermuth is probably the safest of the cheaper ones. Komet should get targets. Hawkinson, I think, might be the safest of all of them on a salary basis. Now these, again, with defenses, I try to have a lot of them, and I try to look for ones that either have a good matchup or have shown some sacks and turnovers or that kind of thing recently. There's a variety of things that I look at there to try to have some diversity. Sort of past performance, though, is probably one that... Okay, so last week I talked a lot, and everybody knows Josh Jacobs had a monster week. He was far and above. Now, this is a little bit of a systematic thing I ran through to sort of see what category, what did he fall under? Well, as I mentioned in one of my other videos about, the recap, I believe. It was towards the end of the recap from about ReignMakers and DFS. He fit on he was on every single one of these lists last week. He was on the projected chalk, he was on the projected ownership, he was on the optimal lineups, he was on the leverage, he was on the value, and the DVP, and my favorites, or my list. Unfortunately, I didn't really put that together and didn't own him that much. But anyway, I went ahead and looked at what players qualify for that now. This actually doesn't include the projected chalk one, but it includes the others, which are the 6 sort of DFS ones. Okay. The only player this week that is on all 6 of them when I went through this is Chubb. And he's expensive, but so was Jacobs. Jacobs was like 7,700 last week, 8,012. So that along with these are probably like core backbones to a lineup. If there is going to be that type of breakout player above the pack. The other ones that are, so it's a total of 18 counting defenses. Hurts, 4%. Lawrence, Eckler, Henry, Jacobs, Walker, and Aaron Jones. None of those particularly low. I guess you could say Henry, 8%, Walker, 8%, and Chubb. The thing with the Chubb thing is Deshaun Watson's coming back. And he's going to be really good. However, it's his first game back, and I think Dak, his first game back, didn't really do that great. And then he did the next week. So there's a lot of points being, and they're projected to roll over Houston. And Chubb had a good week last week. He's starting to ramp it back up. So that's one I would really try to have in some lineups. And Hurts. On wide receivers, Adams, Chase, A.J. Brown, who goes with Hurts, Kirk, who goes with Lawrence, and Zay Jones, who goes with Lawrence. I probably wouldn't want to do both those in stacks, although I think I have that. And then Adams and Chase, I'd also want to have. I mean, I'd want to have a couple of all of these players. Kelsey and Freiermuth. And then the Baltimore D, which is because it's the most expensive, is only at 4%. So there's some good, decent differentiation there. A little bit on those, a little bit on Kelsey. Of course, he's so expensive. And then Seattle and Green Bay. I don't really expect Green Bay to put it on, like on Chicago, on the Bears, but the numbers, their projection type things are sort of pointing to that. And Fields has been known to throw a pick six or fumble type, type thing. That's another reason not to be big on Montgomery, by the way, is with Fields back. And again, injuries, things are constantly changing. I may not have 100% accurate information. As far as Rainmakers, a couple of them just sold. Like Trevor Lawrence, I should have had a $15 limit on my other one, but Moore sold, 2 Trevor Lawrence sold, Deontay Johnson sold, which I didn't mind getting rid of that, and then a Robinson, that was a nice profit on that one. So I had to sort of do a couple of replacements, and I ended up buying it. Justin Fields for 12, Deshaun Watson for 8 cores, and then a rare about a DeAndre Swift for 15 and a Dillon for 9. I guess you could kind of say they're like combined, just not looking to put a whole lot into Rainmakers. I wanted to show you, I think these were probably my 5 best actual handmade lineups, or my 5, ones that I put in like the bigger ones, I would say. This is the one I put in the $1 million one. I only entered that once, a $20 one. Lawrence, Chubb, Aaron Jones, St. Brown, Kirk, Burks, Freiermuth, Sky Moore, and Seahawks. Maybe Sky Moore could be something that, that's sort of a crapshoot. Then these were like single entry ones that had higher dollar amounts. I did and completely different players on all these. Unique players. Hurts, Walker, Robinson, A.J. Brown, Hollins, Carter, Hawkinson, Watson, and the Packers D. Then a Burrow, Jacobs, Knight, Chase, Pickens, Zay Jones, Akins, and Pacheco, and the Ravens D. Then a Carr, Eckler, Henry, and all these have a stack, and it hasn't necessarily been that great for quarterback wide receiver stacks, but last couple of weeks, but they come in. Carr, Eckler, Henry, Adams, Collins, Watkins, Kmet, Jefferson, and the Dolphins. Then this lineup also I just added, and this one has a little more, I would say, a little less of the super expensive guys and then really cheap guys and more of like the middle of the road, which is actually what sort of won me the contest, that the $100,000 one that one week was more middle of the road guys. So keep that in mind. A lot of times it does come in this way, or 1 or 2 really expensive like this. This one has 3 really expensive, but this one's more middle of the road guys. But Fields, I had to have him on here, I think, as he's won contests outright for people. Lamar is the other one, but this site's been picking Lamar week after week, and he just hasn't been quite coming through for his salary, but maybe he could. I'm just not banking out that much. Jamal Williams, Robinson. This does have a couple duplicates. Palmer, Wilson, Watson, Hawkinson, Pirine, and the Ravens D. All right, good luck, guys. Hope you got some good information on here, and good luck with your Rainmakers, your DFS, your betting, and all that, your fantasy football. And let me know if you have any nice hits in the comments type thing. Thanks. Have a good one.